Hello and welcome back to the Matchy Chapter podcast. My name is Sav and I'm joined today by my beautiful sister Tam.
Hi.
And Heated Rivalry has entered the chat. I am so excited to be discussing both the book and the HBO series.
Finally, a bit late to the bandwagon on that one.
We're really late to the bandwagon, but we're so excited to be joining the bandwagon because we have some thoughts.
But first,
Yes.
let's just explain the gravity of the situation.
Yes. I've never seen anything like
The
it.
fan base is unbelievable.
I think I first heard about the gravity of the fans on actually a Trisha Paytas podcast, and they were discussing how the fans have literally gone crazy and developed this like parasocial relationship with the actors Hudson and Connor. So Hudson Williams
Plays
Shane Hollander and
Connor Storrie
plays Ilya Rozanov. And that's where I was introduced to the crazy fandom. And I went onto Reddit to have a look at like what other people were saying. And I found this quote from a Reddit user that I think perfectly sums up the fandom. So I'm going to read it for you guys. I love the show, but the fandom terrifies me. It seems like for a lot of people, it's their first real TV show obsession and they've never interacted with fan spaces before, which is interesting because it makes you think like the fans are really young. I swear they put some kind of drug in the show that makes people insanely addicted. I can't even explain it. I saw stats that said of the people who watched it, 1 in 5 watched it at least 5 times. And if you haven't heard of a parasocial relationship before, because off mic you were saying you have no idea
what that is.
what a parasocial relationship is, which I think is crazy because in this day and age, parasocial relationships are spoken about so much.
Yeah.
But basically a parasocial relationship is just a one-way relationship with a fan and the media character. So like someone you have never met, you're only seeing them online, in movies, on TV. So it's completely one-sided.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I developed my first parasocial relationship with Justin Bieber and I was convinced like if I went for a long enough walk, he would just like show up in the forest and I would meet Justin Bieber.
Yeah, okay, I get that.
So that kind of obsession, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, just like some more stats on the viewership, like because all of this is word of mouth marketing. So
Which is absolutely crazy. Because
So
like
crazy.
you, I didn't hear about it until they said they were releasing the show.
yeah, the viewership jumped from 30 million minutes on the first episode to 300 million minutes by the final
Holy
episode.
cow. That's
So
insane.
hopefully that
That'd meet some record, some 2026 record.
yeah,
like
I
most
think it's
streamed
going to be
TV show or
studied
something.
some way in the future. I mean, we can speculate why it's so good. I think we've seen similar fandoms and obsessions in like Twilight, Vampire Diaries, 50 Shades of Grey, if we're talking about like the spice. I also think if I want to look into it a little bit deeper, we haven't seen the actors Hudson Williams and Connor Storrie before. Like this is our first time seeing them in anything. I think it was going around on social media that they were working in hospitality before they got this role. So I think people just love a rags to riches story. Overall, if you are about to watch this podcast or listen to this podcast and you haven't watched or read the books, I definitely encourage you go and do that after watching and listening to this because it's definitely worth it. I will give you guys a little bit of a backstory because I didn't actually know this myself, even though I've read and watched this now. But Heated Rivalry is book 2 in a 6-novel series.
Yes.
I think I've got that correct because if I have a look, it's either between 6 or 8 novels.
Yeah.
But basically the whole Game Changer series is just looking at different love stories between the hockey players.
Yes.
Throughout it all.
Yeah, I have heard that too. I have heard it's more of like an interconnected series.
Yeah.
So you don't actually have to read it from book 1 to 6 or book 1 to 8.
Yeah.
You can pick and choose, which is obviously what we've done.
Yeah,
we've
it's
chosen to
kind
read
of
Heated
giving
Rivalry
Marvel universe, like different universes,
Just
hockey
different,
universes. Because our protagonists, Shane and Ilya, do appear in a few of the other books, like as side characters, and they're also in the 6th book, I believe, which is called The Long Game.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, that is one thing that they are saying on Instagram and TikTok is if you do want to go read the whole series, to make sure you read Heated Rivalry before The Long Game.
Yeah. The Game Changers, that story is about Kip and Scott, which we met Kip and Scott in the series more so than we did the book Heated Rivalry.
Yes.
But if you were confused why we saw Kip and Scott not to jump ahead, but if you were confused why we saw them in the series and not so much in the book, that is why, because their story is kind of within the universe.
In the interconnected Game Changers series. Yeah.
Cool. So I think we've covered the background. Let's jump into our first thoughts.
Let's chat.
Personally, I was excited to read a queer romance because I like romance stories and I was just ready for something fun and fresh and spicy.
From the get-go, I did think that you got exactly what you were expecting. If you want to read a male romance about hockey players, two hockey players that fall in love, that's exactly what you get.
Yeah.
Not in a predictable way. It was just like an is what it is kind of way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I still really liked. It's really refreshing.
Yeah.
It's really refreshing not to have to think about side quests or different angles or
Yeah. You're just thinking about Shane and Ilya.
Yeah.
Their intimacy.
Because this is more of a comparison episode. Should we chat more about like how the book is in relation to the TV show rather than our thoughts on the story?
Yeah, I think so.
Specifically.
Like, in all honesty, if you're reading just the book, like there's not too much to chat. You either like it or
you either
you
like
don't
it or you don't. Yeah.
Because a lot of the strengths for me came from what they did well with the adaptation to the TV series.
Yeah.
The biggest strength was the casting. I really think they hit the nail on the head with choosing Hudson and Connor for this.
I agree.
And just like a proud parasocial fan, like I'm not parasocial in any way, but Connor's Storrie is just a phenomenal actor. Like
absolutely.
In watching him in interviews versus what he's like in the character of Ilya, he's so different. He's so believable.
Yeah.
I'm really interested to know if I'll compare him to Ilya if I see him in other movies.
Something else, yeah, that would be,
So I guess like time will tell with that, but he just did such an amazing job. I even had a little note as I was reading the book if they would even continue with the Russian accent, because I was like, there's no way an American can pull off this like heavy, deep Russian.
Yeah. I did say when I saw the shorts to the show, I thought they'd cast a Russian.
Yeah.
Like his accent was amazing. He has that sort of ruggedness that comes with the accent as well.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
And he was
they nailed it.
like, he was speaking fluent Russian.
Yeah.
Not that I'm Russian in any sense. Like I don't know how it compares, but oh my gosh, it was so good.
I don't know if anybody else is a visual reader, but I'm such a visual reader. I'll picture full face, a full look. And to me, they were spot on with that as well. I think they nailed exactly that. I probably did get some influence because I saw who they were casting before I started reading the book.
Because that can influence.
Yeah, but I did sort of keep that into the back of my mind. But once you read the description of the book characters, it was like, it was perfect.
Yeah.
I did kind of maybe see Ilya as a little bit more sort of like rough around the edges, like 'cause they talk about him having a beard at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still think that they put it bang on. And then the chemistry between the two.
Yeah.
As well. In the book, it's really obvious. So, and it's really hard to portray the same sort of chemistry on screen as it is on paper.
Yeah.
So they've done a really good job. There was a point that I was really concerned that wouldn't come across in the same way. I call it the I'm coming to the cottage scene.
Yeah.
And they're both watching the playoffs and both texting each other. And then they see on the screen that Scott Hunter grabs Kip from the audience. They're both going, oh my God, look at this, what's happening? And Shane goes to ring Ilya and immediately Ilya's like, I'm coming to the cottage. The feeling that you get when reading that scene in the book, that giggling, kick your feet, screaming kind of feeling, I was really concerned that they couldn't portray that the same in the TV show, but I think they did a really good job and I still ended up kicking my feet and giggling.
I don't really get the significance of going to the cottage. I don't understand why Ilya was so reserved with going in the first place.
Yeah, so I think that's part of Ilya's internal battling with that. Do I really like him? I can't possibly like this guy.
Yeah.
That's not me. I'm not a one man kind of person, or I'm not a one relationship kind of person.
Yeah.
And then obviously the consequences that come with coming out in a male dominated sports field and as a Russian, and it's almost like this build up, and then as soon as someone else allows it to happen and shows that they're comfortable with themselves on the hockey field, he just allows himself to feel that, and it's like, bam, I'm coming to the cottage.
Analysing it a little bit deeper, I guess the thrill of like hiding in dorm rooms and doing it in hotels and meeting in the bathroom and things like that, there's kind of that bad naughty association, whereas like going to a secluded cottage just with Shane kind of cements the fact that they're boyfriends. And
that
that's
would
like
be in a
more
relationship.
being in love. Wait, maybe this is like way smarter than some like dumb spicy romance that I like originally thought.
There is hidden meaning.
One thing I also picked up on that I didn't really take note of when I was reading the book, while they were literally having sex, Ilya was calling him Hollander. And I was like, why are you using his last name? Like, his name's Shane. I texted a friend about it and she was like, it's so he can like disconnect and not make it so personal.
That's right. It's disconnecting that
His
emotion
feelings,
to it.
yeah.
That feeling to it. He won't allow himself to fulfill. And then so the same sort of thing, when he finally calls him Shane realizes that he finally calls him by his first name.
Wait, this is so cute. I just got like full body goosebumps. I didn't even realize that. Oh my God, I actually love Ilya. I definitely did just enjoy it because I was fully starting this episode about to say like I don't understand the hype, but I feel like I've done a complete 180 sitting here right now because I just kind of enjoyed it for what it was and took it at face value. But when you look into it deeper, it's actually like so cute. I liked that the family struggles for both characters were portrayed nicely and you got that background and that history, like you understood who Ilya was, where he came from, the consequences of his actions. Also, you understand Shane's family history and him thinking he's like the token Asian hockey player. And yeah, so you definitely get that tension build up. This has way more depth than like all the spice.
Than all the spice.
You get.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, before we go into characters, I do want to touch on like what I anticipated the weaknesses might be from the book translating over to the show. I was struggling to comprehend what they would do with the lack of side characters. Like the book is heavily focused on Shane and Ilya and then some scenes with the family.
Yeah.
So I was like, how are they going to fill the gap? And what they ended up doing was introducing Scott and Kip, which appear in the Game Changers.
I think it's in book one. Yeah.
So you get that context before Scott Hunter brings Kip onto the ice and has that big moment of revealing he's openly gay. So I really liked that. I don't know if I was a fan before the book if I would like that, but as someone that went in completely blind, I really enjoyed it. So they did well to combat the lack of side characters. The other thing was the time jumping, because obviously we start Shane and Ilya's relationship when they're rookies and then we see it through multiple hockey seasons.
Yeah.
There's so much time jumping and season jumping throughout the book. I was like, how are they going to do this?
I was the same one.
Yeah, and they did that really well.
Without feeling like you skip over the whole story or their whole history.
And without missing the banter.
Yeah.
Like there was good.
Yeah, that was one sort of thing that I thought wasn't portrayed or wasn't translated enough from paper to screen, was the banter between the two. I feel like when I was reading the book, especially again from Ilya's point, he just had all these like funny one-liner like comments. It was like, and I just felt myself giggling throughout that, whereas I didn't really feel that sort of type of witty banter on the TV screen.
I actually think the banter was illustrated really well. The one thing that it did miss was like the internal dialogue, because obviously they didn't include banter. Like the internal thoughts. For example, when Shane gets a stylist and he rocks up to the preseason party or whatever party they're at, and Ilya's actually like has really funny internal dialogue about the shirt he's wearing in comparison to like seeing Shane, and he's really flustered, and you miss all of that because you can't like
you don't get that. Yeah.
But then I guess you could turn it into a positive and just read the book before watching the show, because you definitely get so much more out of it.
That's what I think what I struggle with personally with contemporary romances is I constantly feel like there's like a lull in the middle of the book. And like it starts really cute when they meet and then it ends really good at the end, but they're like in the middle it's just like, you know, like you're just sort of
doing the same thing, repeating.
Yeah, that's right. And I thankfully didn't feel that with this book.
Yeah.
But I did kind of start to feel like that when I was watching the TV show. Like I just kind of felt like, oh, I could get up and, I don't know, do the dishes while I'm watching it. Like I don't have to be glued to the screen.
I actually felt the complete opposite. Felt like I had to sit and watch. I did try and get up and clean or make dinner and I missed a whole chunk. So I had to like rewind.
Yeah.
And that's big for me. Like I do not watch TV shows at all. And I can't honestly say if that's because I was watching it for the podcast or if it was because I was interested in it. Like and it was gripping my attention. But yeah, let's dive a little bit deeper into the characters, I guess. There's not too much to cover because there's just Ilya and Shane, who we love so much.
I do love their dynamic. I feel like that they're almost like an opposites attract type of situation. I feel like Shane's still discovering who he is, who he wants to be, but at the same time he knows what he wants. Yeah. Like he's seen Ilya, he's had a taste and he knows that he wants him.
Yeah.
Whereas Ilya sort of comes across like he knows who he is as a person, but he's denying himself what he wants.
One honourable mention I had for Shane's dad. I don't know if anyone like picked up on this, but I just found it so funny that they almost bar for bar translated him the exact same from the book into the show. Especially I had to laugh. They were at the cottage and Shane's dad walks in on them. And it's like 1 minute you see him and the next it's just him driving away. It's like no dialogue of like or like, oh no, what have I seen? Yeah, it's just there and gone. And I just find it so funny. I think that brings us to the ending. I think it wrapped up really nicely.
I liked the way the book ended. It sort of did tie it into a nice little bow. And you're sort of left happy and content with their story.
Yeah.
And you know that you can just leave it in your head that you know that they'll just live happily ever after. They'll create their charity and they'll go. With the TV show, it ended nicely too, and you could either take it or leave it with season 2.
Yeah.
As well. I think you could be content with just not watching season 2, or if you did want to keep going. What did you rate it?
4.5 for both the book and the
TV
show, which is pretty high for me.
That is pretty high for you, actually, yeah. I rated the book a 4.
Nice.
Yeah.
And the show too.
Didn't think about the show actually. I'd probably rate it a 4 as well, only because it was so good to have stuck so close to the book.
Yeah. I feel like if they didn't adapt something in 2026, it wasn't like scene for scene, I think you'd just get your head ripped off. Like you have to.
You'd have to call it something completely different. It wouldn't, you can't relate it to it.
Like, well, think about the major tangent, but think about the commentary with like Wuthering Heights. Oh my gosh, that was just all commentary about how different it was.
Yeah, true.
Even though they openly said, it's completely different.
Yeah.
There was still so much commentary because they still called it Wuthering Heights. So I think in 2026 you have to, like, you're dealing with a lot. And personally, if they adapt Fourth Wing and it's not bar for bar, scene for scene, word for word, you're out.
What are we going to do?
Yeah.
Well, I think that wraps it up.
I think we can close the chapter on Heated Rivalry. It was nice for a little season and a little refresh. But we did enjoy doing the comparison between the book and the show so much that we're going to continue that into May. So for May, we're going to be reading and watching The Housemaid by Frida McFadden, which I'm so excited to do. And yeah, if you'd like to join us in May, that is what we'll be watching. So we'll see you guys then.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.